This was our RC 2014 Classic 2 at the end of the last video, with 4 of the modules now completed. The CPU, ROM, RAM and I/O modules are all plugged into the backplane. We're now just waiting for the final card, which is the clock and reset module. This has 3 resistors, 3 capacitors, the crystal clock, a reset button, a socket and the edge connector to solder into this board. As these are the last components in this kit, they are the only components that are left in our box. The 3 resistors are of different values, so if you're unfamiliar with the colour coding marked on them, it's best to use a multimeter to identify which is which. Once you have all the components prepared, it's time to start the assembly. As always, it's best to have some frame or clamping system to hold the board in place while you solder. Start with the lowest profile components first, and remember to take your time, as it's better to find issues early to save time debugging a hardware fault later. Having identified the resistors and the 2 different types of capacitor, we can solder them in first. Ideally, wear some eye protection and keep your fingers away from the molten metal. After each set of components is soldered into place, visually checking the board with a magnifying aid is a good habit to get into. And now we have those components completed on the board, and we can move on to the next stage. The edge connector comes next. It's important that this is soldered in correctly to ensure your module sits vertically when plugged into the backplane. So it's always best to solder just a couple of pins first, both to hold it in place and to allow you to check that it's not been soldered in at an odd angle. Once you are happy with the alignment, you can then return the board to your holding frame and complete soldering the rest of the pins. As there are 40 pins to solder into place, it's always best after completing this particular component to make a careful visual inspection to ensure you don't either miss soldering one of them, like I did here, or apply too much solder and solder 2 pins together. If you have applied too much solder, it needs to be carefully removed, either with a specialised tool capable of sucking hot solder out from the board, or if this isn't available, applying a clean solder tip to the solder joint and letting the excess solder flow onto it. So this only leaves 2 components to add to the board, the reset switch and the socket. We'll fit the socket first. Soldering the 4 corner pins to hold the socket in place, and then returning the board to our frame to complete the soldering of the remaining pins. Our very last component to solder is the reset button. This is the second reset button on the system, as there's a reset button on the backplane as well. Now all we need do is to insert the chip into its socket. As the chip is delivered with its legs slightly splayed out, you will need to bend these in very slightly by gently pressing one side of the chip against a hard surface like the desktop. Once the pins are aligned to the socket, you can then firmly press the top of the chip to insert the chip straight into the socket. And that will complete the assembly of this board. Our clock and reset module is now ready to be inserted into the backplane. Carefully inserting it into the next slot on the backplane, the RC 2014 Classic 2 is now completed. As I intend powering this computer off the FTDI cable, I need to install the jumper on the serial I/O board. Jumpers are provided in the component bag, both for the power selection, which we are now doing, and to set the computer to either boot directly into BASIC or into the ROM monitor. I'm going to leave the first power up of the computer until the next video. But before we end today's video, I'm going to add a little to the frame of the system by adding more Maker Beam components. Adding corner cubes allows us to extend our frame, both vertically and horizontally. This will give a frame that can be easily turned into a case, perhaps even to accommodate a battery module. However, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.